Jim.
Hi, Meg. How are you
Uh,
doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me steal a couple minutes of your time today. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about this year's case competition and the case study, and just give yourself a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about all the work that you put into the case study for all of the teams.
Great. Thanks. So, yeah, my name is Jim Fleming, and I am the Innovation and Product Development Manager at ISM. Been here about 11 years. Prior to that, I was with the Intel Corporation and was there for about 32 years and retired. One of the things that I find with ISM is it really helps create a framework to allow individuals to be successful in any corporation. A lot of the things that I have learned through, you know, the bumps and bruises of dealing with corporations and the challenges really do have kind of a very foundational academic approach. And one of the things I think we find very interesting is that students that are going through the profession from an academic standpoint and getting a degree are very successful when they get into the business environment. And one of the things that the case competition provides is it gives a bit of an opportunity to see what that world is going to be like. So each year that we develop these case studies, we really try to simulate what is happening in the world of enterprise corporate supply chains. And these are challenges that are both with the manufacturing sector and the
Mm-hmm.
service sector. So what we are doing is putting together scenarios with different corporations and environmental challenges. And we look for students to kind of think through what they're hearing, what they are observing, and then apply their academic framework and their curiosity and their innovation and their really problem solving to think about approaches to solve some of these challenges. And the nice thing that we have continued to see is year over year, the creativity that come from these teams is unbelievable. We have the
Awesome.
judges that are usually executives within large corporations that
Mm-hmm.
are part of this, and they continue to talk about how impressed they are with the outcomes that they're receiving from all of these different teams.
Mm-hmm.
While they haven't lived it quite yet, they're preparing for the ongoing complexity and day-to-day challenges, but very rewarding career. So that's, I think, really exciting to see teams come into this particular activity.
That's excellent. And how long have you been working on the case study with
So I
ISM?
usually each year I start working on it a few months prior to release. And what I do is think about what is happening in the world with different supply chain. And each case study is, it is a model of something that is extremely plausible. And we deal with ongoing risks and challenges each and every year. We take a look at whether it is a manufacturing sector, or this year, based on a lot of feedback we have received, we'd like to see something in the service sector.
Mm-hmm.
And so the particular case study is modeled after things that are really happening in today's world with some of the most successful organizations and successful companies in the world.
Wow.
And the novel outcome that these companies have to deal with, some will make it through and be very successful. Others will become blindsided or they'll get knocked off their center by situations because they haven't pre-thought what are plausible outcomes, what are strategies that people can take.
Mm.
And you see some companies that will even, head into bankruptcy because they haven't thought about things in a strategic environment or a strategic framework. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we really are looking for students to do is think about all of these challenges. And there is no absolute right or absolute wrong answer
Yeah.
because you have to have strategies, you have to have situations that reflect a changing environment. The economy may be good one quarter, and the next
Mm-hmm.
quarter something has happened and the economy is in a bad place. Or
Mm-hmm.
some event in the world has happened that has changed our entire dynamic. And
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that we really do, try to model into the particular case study that students are having to work with.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, they do come up with some really incredible work that they submit. So very excited for this year. But tell me a little bit more about like what it is that makes a team stand apart from their perspective? Because I believe you had mentioned earlier to me, there really is no right or wrong answer. But I mean, tell me a little bit more about that piece.
Yeah, so one thing this case study has, you're going to see some data sets that are put into into the case. And these are going to be profit and loss statements over the last, kind of a trend over the last 4 years. Going to be some balance sheet information over the last 4 years. We're
Hmm.
going to provide a purchasing manager index report that really shows the health of the economy and giving a number of data points. And one of the things that students have to do is take into account what is this data telling them? And one of the things we're seeing the most successful strategic organizations in supply chain understand how their work aligns to the corporation's bottom line and top line. They're able to read through the profit and loss statements and the balance sheet and apply logic based on trends that are happening.
Hmm.
So when you're doing that, you're connecting your work to the work that the executives within that corporation are looking at. The CEOs, the CFOs, the chief procurement officers, chief operating officers. That financial performance data is usually put out in a publicly traded company once a quarter. And
Hmm.
the corporation's success can be very much influenced around how those performance trends are heading. So we want students to look at that data and whatever strategy they develop, make sure it aligns with what the financial trends are telling them. And think
Yeah.
about how do you communicate your strategy in a way that isn't just supply chain geek talk. It's business leader influence. You're thinking about having to communicate to your peers within supply chain, but
Hmm.
into the entire enterprise. You're communicating to engineering, you're communicating to finance, the executive team, and telling the story that builds confidence that they can move forward and can trust and leverage what you're
Hmm.
putting in there. The second thing is that the purchasing manager index. It's a set of data that really talks about what is happening in the world of supply chain. What are inventory situations in different geographies around the world? What are buying trends? What are forecast trends? What are financial health trends? And you can start to see, is there a predictor around how the finances are working in your company, how the economy is trending, and then being able to align and take on what are the known risks that we have in this year's situation. You're going to be dealing with risks that are driven by tariffs, by
Hmm.
Medicaid funding cuts, by
Yeah, that's a big
geopolitical
one.
situations, by talent that is very difficult to find and maintain, and dirty data. The world is full of data, but it's not always clean data and
Hmm.
accurate data. So we're
Interesting.
asking students to come up with a strategic plan that factors in all of these different variables,
Hmm.
because that is what our world is like. That is the future they're going into. And it's not black and white. It is moving variables all the time and making sure you can create a plan
Yep.
that is focused, but also flexible. And these are what the most resilient companies in the world are doing.
Yeah. I was on a call the other day, and the gentleman I was speaking with referred to themselves as the firefighters of supply chain.
Yep,
You know,
that's
and I
exactly
thought that
what
was
it
a
feels
great
like.
analogy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I and just from your experience, on the outcome, and you had spoken a little bit about these are real world experiences for students. What else have you seen come out of some of these case competitions with the finalists?
Some of the finalists are actually influencing the thinking of the executives that are at these
Wow.
conferences. They're taking ideas that are, may seem, sometimes the students think, well, that, I'm going to give it my best shot, but they don't realize that sometimes executives have been in the pressure cooker for so long that they can't open up the, kind of their shift their paradigms or open up their
Yep.
mental models to see it differently.
Hmm.
And the novel concepts that come out during the presentations from the students are absolutely phenomenal. I've had chief procurement officers come up and say, those students are going to be the future executives within whatever corporation they go into. And
Wow.
that is an affirmation around what the world is really getting from these particular students. The
Hmm.
other thing is some of these case studies have actually been created into regular workshops that we deliver at
Wow.
corporations to
Hmm.
directors and vice presidents and chief procurement officers, because again, some of these novel concepts can be applied to come up with solutions. So yes, this is, a simulation. It may have some things that are, fictitious in nature, but in reality, it's not far off.
Hmm. So interesting. Well, I think that was really great to just get a little bit more context behind this year's case study and competition. So we will be able to see these teams in action in Denver at our ISM World conference. And yes, the April 26th through the 28th. I should have that ingrained on my forehead.
And I'm looking forward to
Anyways,
it. This is actually
yeah,
one of the more rewarding parts of my job is actually to work in this environment and creating the case, but also working with and listening to the students. It is
yeah,
amazing what they're going to be shaping the world of supply chain.
awesome, awesome. Well, thanks, Jim. It was great chatting with you, and we look forward to the competition.
Thanks, Meg.
Okay, bye.
Bye.